Around that first turn, here we go, guys. About 4 minutes away from us getting started talking about the hottest news in the photo industry. Like, quite literally, there's a lot of hot things going on, both physically and just cool stuff going on. So if you could just do me a favor and let us know where you're joining from in the comments below. Two and a half minutes left, guys. We got a couple people in here already. Hello and welcome. Please do me a favor and let me know where you're joining us from. Hello and welcome, everybody. I hope you are having an awesome week. Oh, please keep the applause down, guys. We need to get started here. So, welcome. I hope you are having an awesome week. We are going into the weekend. Looks like there might be a little bit of rain, but we could still shoot, right? So let's get my trusty co-host in here as we kick off this week's edition of the Friday Focus. How are you doing, Mr. Dad Cooks Dinner?
I'm doing good, TJ. How are you?
I am doing well, man. I'm excited for today. It's a good day. It's a very good day. A lot going on in the industry. The rumors are solid. The news is awesome. Great releases. And even so, you found some pretty cool inspirational topics. So I'm excited to get started. I wanted to also say hello to a few of our friends, Mr. Jim Summers, Wadsworth, checking in. Good to see you back at the homestead, if you will. I know you've been traveling there, Mr. Summers. And also, I saw I know what it's like to move away from a studio. So my thoughts are with you today as you move out of the studio there. So Mr. Les, I hope you are doing well out there in Beechwood, Ohio. I haven't seen you in a long time, Les, but I hope you are doing well. I've been seeing your awesome shots over in the different groups, and keep up the good work, man. You're doing awesome things. And then Jim says, rain just means waterfall photography. Absolutely. So if you're in the Clear, Ohio, my dad actually called. He does construction. He's like, hey, you need to get over here to Rocky River. I was like, I got this live stream coming up. I can't is everything okay? He's like, there's a water spout just like coming out of the clouds, and it's been here. It just keeps going back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh man, I wish I could like get over there and photograph it. So if you are in the Cleveland metropolitan area, jump over to Rocky River. You might be able to catch a water spout, which is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and get into it today. The Friday Focus, that's why we are all here, to talk about what's going on in the industry and hear about your thoughts on it. So real quick before we get started, I wanted to tell you about the Talking Pixels podcast. Abby, do we have an episode going out today, or is that next week? Okay, so next week we'll have the latest edition of that. But check out the one that came out last Friday. It's with Logan Deddy, and it's the podcast is all about photography, but it's more about photography business and getting your, start from, having nothing at all and how you build your business. We don't talk about gear. That's this show. This is the one where we talk about gear, the news, all the cool stuff. The Talking Pixels podcast is all about, business related things. So definitely take a look at that. And just some housekeeping notes here at the store. We are open Monday through Friday, 10 to 7. If you need absolutely anything, 10 to 5 on Saturday. And again, if you don't feel comfortable coming in the store, we totally get it. We still have curbside pickup and shipping options available. And if you do come in the store, I wanted to let you know that we are doing our make a comfortable experience. That means we're disinfecting multiple times a day. We have hand sanitizer here for you to use. Our team members are symptom free. We're wearing masks all the time. So again, we're doing our part to make sure everybody feels at home in our store. So what are our goals for today? Our goals are to update you on the photography related news. This isn't stuff that usually shows up, above the fold if you're reading the Morning Journal or the Plain Dealer. This is all about our industry, things that we love. This is a niche market about photography and videography, and we just want to bring that news to you. And, two guys that just love tech and love photography, just talking about what's going on and then getting feedback from you guys, the listeners that are here live, and, just kind of as a community sharing what we are, what's going on in our industry. Also, my goal is to pull you away from the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and the doubt that's going on in the world, and bring you back to photography, this niche that we all know and love. And photography has this transcendent ability to pull you away from that craziness back into, just this, even if it is for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour. Sometimes we talk a little bit longer, but just to talk about photography in general. And then finally, our last goal is to get you motivated to try something new outside of your comfort zone. And that's why we always put inspiration and tutorials, as a section in this live show, just to try to get you to do something new. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll minimize this a bit so that way you can see. Let's get into our news block. So this is the first thing that came out that has been kind of rocking the photo world. Bigfoot has arrived. So tell me, what do we got here? What's released with the A7S III?
Well, I have to say that Bigfoot has not just arrived, but he came out and held a press conference to tell everybody about it.
He did. He did.
I thought that this was a rumor that was never going to actually pan out, but here it is. Sony's new video-centric camera. It's got a similar 12 megapixel sensor for photos, but that's really not what this camera is about. It's about unlimited 4K 30p recording. You get about an hour of 4K 60p recording. They came out and said it doesn't have overheating issues. I think they were taking a poke at Canon with that one. That said, I have seen some testers online say if you leave it outside in direct sunlight, it will overheat. So everybody who's used it indoors says it just goes and goes, but outdoors, you may have to keep it in the shade. And other than that, I mean,
so, yeah, we're getting a lot with this camera from the previous one, and they had to coming out with this camera after it's been so long since the previous one. They had to do it right, and I think it was a very conservative approach for Sony. I think that they, made sure that they had boxes checked and tested, having, they've had their own share of, overheating issues in the past. So I feel like they didn't want to put, 8K out there. They didn't want to push to even 6K like Panasonic. They wanted to be the best 4K camera out there for video. And we're seeing RAW, we're seeing, 4K 120, we're seeing, full pixel readout. There's no pixel binning, anything like that. Like, we're seeing all the digital chops that it needed, all the specs that it needed to compete right now. But what we're also seeing is just what I'm most excited about this camera is the menus are redone. The touchscreen actually works in the menu. Like, those are the type of like usability features that I, hats off to Sony for listening to the, to the crowd and saying, this is what we want. This is what we need in our cameras. I think that goes a longer way than having another spec that nobody uses, or nobody, again, the 8K hype, the 12K, the 20K. A friend of the show, Tech Gear Talk, had a pretty good tweet this week, and it was, even at 12K, 18K, 100K, bad content is still bad content. So, and that's where, I could definitely see that point where, he's shooting, he shoots a lot of 1080, some 4K. But it's a good point. Like, how are you going to view the 8K? And like, we get so wrapped up in this hype where Sony was like, no, let's do a really good 4K camera. We've had all these years now of, our user base saying, what does this camera have to have? Let's just do that. And then it'll give them a reason for the A7S4. Maybe that's 6K or 8K, in about 15 years when that one comes out. Maybe we'll get to it then. But again, I think this is one that a lot of people are excited for. We've had a lot of people in the store already this week, asking us about it. We have a lot of pre-orders, already in for this camera. And again, I think that they're, Sony, again, they marketing wise, they're doing it at the right time with, competing against the R5, R6, and honestly, with all the lenses they have, it's a very compelling option. I would say one of the best options right now for high-end video in this form factor.
Yeah, I agree. Compelling was the exact word I was thinking too, that if I was doing real production video, this would probably be the camera I would be getting. The other thing I want to bring up is one of the great things about this camera is this introduces a new line of processors for them. And as I keep saying, kind of my theme for a lot of this is so much of our cameras nowadays are, it's a processor that you can attach, it's a computer that you can attach lenses to. And their new processor makes this camera focus faster than even their A9 II, their intentional sports camera. The processor runs 8 times faster. And I think that's why and the nature of processors is you get this by shrinking the die, which means that the electrical contacts inside it are smaller, which means less heat, which I think means that's why they can have this run unlimited. Yep. And I am looking forward to what this camera means as the technology in it trickles down to the other cameras in their line.
Absolutely. And the final thing I want to say is this is available. They're saying in September, but honestly, like with release dates, with COVID the way it is, it'll be, I would say, this fall. I've learned to not quote anybody as far as when things are coming in, just because shipping and just supply chain in general is upside down right now. But yeah, very good. Props to Sony for coming out with, the best 4K, not just following the hype of, more resolution, more megapixels, staying true to what this camera was designed for. So excited about this camera. Can't wait to actually get it in our hands. So with this announcement, tell me a little bit about this. So I saw that they had this CF Express. There's a new CF Express that was also announced along with this.
Right. And this is where, again, it's a computer with a lens attached to it. What I found out that I didn't know is that CF Express cards are so much faster because they use what's called the PCI bus. And if you're a computer geek, you know that that's what, if you buy a new card, like a video card that you need to slot into your computer, PCI is the bus that those slots run on. So this is basically, you are plugging your memory card directly into the motherboard on your camera. And that's why they are so much faster than SD cards. It's a much more direct path to the cards. And the other fascinating thing about this is Sony is introducing for the first time ever CF Express A cards. And as the graphic we have up on the screen, the ones that we've been seeing in Canon and Nikon cameras and the XQD cards of the same size are CF Express B cards, which are bigger and faster, but they're bigger. And Sony wanted to be able to fit two of them easily into this body. So they went with the slower, but still more than fast enough for video size of CF Express A cards, which are at least dimensions wise, they are smaller than SD cards. They're a little thicker, but they're physically they're a little bit smaller, which I think is fascinating that they can pack so much technology and so much speed into such a small package.
And I also like that what they did with this camera was they have these two card slots are the same in that if I have two SD cards, great. If I have two of the new, CF Express A cards, that's great. Where other manufacturers will do this like one in one. So you get like and it's their way of like going, modernizing it, where they're still taking care of their older users that had even like the 5D4 where you have the, CF card and then you have the SD card. I like what Sony did here because if I want to upgrade them both today, great. Like let's say I'm getting two of these cameras and I'm just going to buy the CF Express A cards, I'm good to go. But if I don't want to do that and I just have all these SD cards laying around, then I can still do that. So I feel like this was a much better way to kind of bridge that gap for the users than the one-in-one slot. I think this is a lot cleaner. I think this is, at the end of the day, better for the user.
Yeah, and I think this is Sony flexing their technological muscles a little bit and saying, hey, look at this cool technology where if you don't need 4K 120 speeds, you don't necessarily need that CF Express. You can use the old SD cards that you have lying around. And this is the first time I've ever heard of a dual slot where it looks like you plug it in upside down if it's an SD card to get it to work. And just a fascinating piece of technology. They may not have pushed for 8K, but this is as impressive to me that they're doing this instead.
Yeah, and at first, when I first read all the stuff about it, even the some of the rumors that they weren't going to do 8K, they weren't going to do that. I was like, I don't know if that, if that's good for the, for them in the long run. But now, as I'm reading more about this camera, as I'm doing more research on things like this, I'm seeing what they did with this camera. I mean, they are making the best video camera out there. They're not just chasing hype, which again, this is just showing that, what they're doing here with these cards, that they're, just pushing for, the best technology, the best camera possible.
Yeah. And it's someone said on the internet, and I agree with this, is it feels like there's a little bit of a flip here where it used to be Sony was the one pushing the edge of technology and you would occasionally pay for it with things like overheating, and Canon was the conservative make cameras for professionals. And this feels like they've reversed positions where Sony, one of their strengths has always been they listen to the people that are using their cameras, and every time they come out with a new one, it's better. And they've fixed the things that people were complaining about. And this is another example, bigger batteries, runs forever. They made what the users of the A7S2 asked for with this camera. And I think that's one of the strengths of Sony's brand is they listen.
Absolutely. So very cool. So if anybody did have questions about, we've had questions come in like, what are these new A cards? When are you going to have them? They're shipping around the same time as the camera itself. So, again, supply chain dependent, but we should have these cards in stock as well. So, yep, that is right around the corner. So let's get into the R5 and R6. Are they true? Are we going to see I wanted to real quick get it ready. Here we go.
Breaking news.
Are this just in news? Because this goes back and forth, and we don't know what is real and what is fake. But it looks like now that Australia came out, Canon Australia, and said all these recall rumors are not true. So honestly, like, it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, it's fun for stuff like this because we can talk about it, but once these cameras get out, if there is a problem with them, there's no doubt in my mind that Canon's going to take care of it. You know what I mean? And I don't think that they're going to short a supply chain because of this. I don't know. Obviously I have no knowledge of any of this, but what are your thoughts? I mean, do you think it's true? Do you think there's going to be a recall? Are you thinking it's not true? What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, so to back up just one step, the rumors, I woke up this morning, looked at the document that we keep behind the scenes and opened up all my my websites that I check, and this rumor was everywhere that Canon is intentionally throttling their supply chain, and they're doing it because they know they're going to have to do a potential hardware recall to fix these overheating issues. But then the very last site I checked was the one that we have the picture of, where they said, well, as a journalist, we should actually go out and ask Canon. And Canon, Australia in this case, said, no, absolutely not true. We knew that the overheating issues were there. We intentionally made that choice, and we are shipping the cameras as fast as we can. That said, these rumors are coming about because I think they said that the largest camera store in Berlin got 5 R5s, and all of Germany got 70, is what they've heard, which is a lot less than you would normally get with a new camera. And my thought
we've been
is,
seeing that too, where we're not getting the shipments that we thought we're filling pre-orders as fast as possible. And this has just been a very strange launch for us. But we're doing our best. We are getting out as many cameras as we can. But it'll be interesting to see, as this unfolds, if we do see a recall. I think, once we get to the rumors, it sounds like there might be a potential solution. But again, it's very interesting how this whole thing has, come about. And, is the supply chain issues COVID related? Is it this overheating? We'll never know, being out here. But as of today, the last thing we heard is these rumors are not true, that, they are, that it's performing as spec'd. And honestly, like, everything that I'm seeing online, it's a lot of the 8K is when it's overheating, a lot of the high processing stuff. I have to feel like this is a niche part of who's going to be shooting this camera. I don't know this for sure, but I'm thinking like a wedding photographer, even a wedding videographer. I doubt they're going to be shooting a lot in 8K right now. And this is one part of the news. How about the part where this footage is going to be melting their computers when they bring it in? Like, that whole 8K workflow is just this monster that I feel like it's clickbaity, a little clickbaity right now with a lot of the R5, R6 stuff. It's not holding me back, from wanting this camera or other. I don't think it should, hold others back that are, wanting to buy this camera. Personally, total personal opinion, not the Pixel opinion, but again, TJ is, my personal opinion. I wouldn't let this stop me.
Right. And to answer the question you were asking, my guess is the supply chain throttling is the virus. I got the brand new Fuji X-T4 right when the virus was starting to ramp up, and it arrived piecemeal. I got the camera and I got the batteries, and then a few weeks later I got the battery grip, and a few weeks later I got the one other accessory, the battery charger. So I think it's the world we're living in right now. Hopefully it won't be for much longer. Who knows? Oh, please, someone get a vaccine. But we just have to live with the fact that the supply chain is going to be a little shakier than usual.
Absolutely. Moving right along. So this was an interesting one. This was under the radar, honestly, because I believe this launch was the same day as these last two, all happened on the same day as the Sony launch. But Fuji came out with a new flash system, which I'm actually really, really excited for. So so let's break this down. What exactly, what is this and why is it important?
Yeah, so this is a new wireless commander and on-camera flash that will talk to each other wirelessly that are using the Nissin Air wireless protocol. Nissin is a Japanese flash manufacturer, and I've been reading online that these are probably just rebranded and made a little more compatible with Fuji versions of existing Nissin equipment. So the good thing is this means you can go out and buy any Nissin flash and it will work with these. The more interesting news is if you want to just go out and buy the Nissin equipment, it's probably a little cheaper than the Fujifilm branded version. But I use flashes all the time. I'm actually a pro photo user. My big light that you can't see just out of camera is my pro photo gear. So I'm not going to trade down to this. In part because this is entirely a flash-based system. They don't have strobes, as near as I can tell, in the Nissin lineup. So, I mean, my
The
personal
largest they
opinion
go,
would,
I think, is a 200-watt second.
right, my personal opinion would be if you're in this price range of the market, give a strong look at the Godox equipment as well as the Nissin, because Godox will let you go from on-camera flashes all the way up to high-power studio strobes at a reasonable price. That said, if you are a one flash kind of guy, this would be a great one to go with the Fuji. It'll work. It'll be compatible, and for flashes, they look like pretty good equipment.
Yeah, so having shot Nissin when I first switched to Sony. Now, mind you, this was many years ago, many moons ago. One thing I like about Nissin, a couple things about the Nissin Flash is you have a lot of different options as far as size, and this works this works with the Nissin. Wow, these companies are so close together. But it'll work with the up to their 200-watt second flash, their flashes. And what I like about this is they've actually cleaned up the interface a little bit, and they've made it that it's made to work with Fuji. So that means they're talking, which means you're going to have it's going to work as stated. It's not going to be reverse engineered like other manufacturers. But one thing, as a working photographer, one thing that I would also look at this as, you have a warranty and you have a US company that is, they're distributing here in the US, meaning, Fujifilm and even Nissan. So you're going to get warranty support. So the Nissin stuff has been around for a long time. It's really good quality, and it's awesome that Fujifilm is now working directly with them. And I'm a sucker for how things look, and I think with my Fuji gear, I like how clean this looks. I like how simple it is to use. So I, for one, am going to pick this up because again, I know it's going to be dependable. I know I have a warranty, and I know it's going to work really well with my Fuji, and I'm not going to have to worry about any warranty issues. I don't have to worry about, again, the reverse engineering of things. This is meant to work. And just like Pro Photo, I don't know this, as fact, but I have to think that they work directly with Fuji in order to get it to work, with those TTL protocols. And, again, Pro Photo, you have a US warranty, and if anything happens, they take care of you. So again, as a working photographer, I think it's important that, I like to buy it once and not have to worry about it dying on me. So again, I think this is awesome for Fuji to say, hey, we're really good at making cameras. Partner with Nissin, who is really good at making flashes, and they've done this for a really long time. I like that they're taking this approach. They're not taking the approach of other, manufacturers who traditionally, other than Canon, Nikon, their stuff has been pretty solid as far as their flashes. But other manufacturers, I don't think that they are up to par with like the Pro Photos or the third-party stuff. So again, I'm glad Fuji is taking this approach to, their wireless flash, and they're taking it seriously. They're not just saying, hey, go figure out how to do flash on your own. No, here is a system that will work. It's baked into the menus, and you don't have to worry about it. So again, props to Fuji for putting this out.
Yep, agree. And I can confirm Profoto and Fuji do work together on the flash protocol. The Profoto rep told me that the last time I spoke to him, that they I don't know if license is the right term, but they have the protocol from Fuji. So
Awesome.
one of the other reasons I'm a loyal Profoto user.
Amen. Moving on, we're still talking Fuji, and we are talking about the Fujifilm Professional Services Program. And this is, if you're not in our Fujifam group, just do a search for Ohio Fujifam. Even if you're not in Ohio, you're allowed to come in. You're my guest. Feel free to come on in. But we were talking about this when I saw that it was launched. I signed up for my Fuji gear because I've always been a professional services member. So with my Canon gear, I was in CPS. With Sony, when they first came out with it, I was one of the first people to sign up. Same thing with Lumix. I didn't really have to. I was a member of Lumix Professional Services, but it was Panasonic's gear. So like my name was there. But then again, Fuji, when I went back to shooting Canon, again, boom, CPS, I was back into it. So I've always been on the professional services program. Again, if anything happens, as a working photographer, if anything happens, I want someone that I can depend on. And there's loaner programs, there's extra support. What I thought was interesting about the Fuji one that I don't remember in the other, NPS, CPS, Sony PS, SPS, SPS. I don't remember the other ones. Extending your warranty. I thought that was really interesting. So if you do pay for the $199, which is a introductory promo offer until September 30th, it actually extends your warranty 1 year from, I believe it was from date of purchase. So I think that's more than other ones give you. But again, this is their first stab at a professional services program. So I want to know what your opinion is on professional services program, because are you a professional? Yes. I mean, you have a professional outlet for your photos, through the cooking blog that generates revenue. So, from my perspective, I feel like you are a professional.
Yep.
You're not doing weddings and stuff like that, but you are still a professional. So what are your thoughts on these programs?
Yeah, so I am going to sign up let me show off as a loyal Fuji user. I feel like I have to support the team, but I'm kind of on the fence about it because of the $400 price. It seems a little high. But that said, the advantage is, the more I think about it, the more I think, yeah, this is probably worth it for me. The kind of person I think it's definitely worth it for is someone who has one of those GFX 100s, the $10,000 medium format cameras and a full lineup of lenses, and the quick turnaround on repairs and the immediate contact with Fuji support just seems like a no-brainer for someone like that. For me as a food blogger, I've got two bodies. I'm going to join, but I don't think it would be like critical for my business. If you're working in a studio with those big medium format bodies, I'm sure it's critical for your business.
100%.
Now, that said, I did run into a problem, which was I went to the website to sign up, and they have registria.com that I've known about for about, 6 months to a year now. And I've been entering every piece of Fuji gear into it as I buy it. And I have more than enough equipment for the $3,000 minimum to join. But when I click on the "Are you eligible?", it says I'm $1,500 short on equipment to join. And so I emailed and I said, hey, what's up? I've got, a couple bodies, all these lenses, more than enough. And they said, yeah, that's a bug. We'll have that fixed around August 10th, which will be in plenty of time for you to get the $200 first year discount. And I put that in our Ohio Fujifam chat in our link about this. And Chris, our local Fuji rep, was kind enough to tell me that he personally requested that they restrict me and they cut all my stuff off the list. So
yeah, and I reached out to the gentleman that's in charge of the program, and I had like a list of like 9 or 10 things, and he, again, it was, some of them were, oh, didn't see that. Other things were, yes, this is in the 8.10 update. So if you do see any bugs like that, just, give them some grace, give them some time. They will be, pushing out a very big code update here on the 10th, because there's like some mismatch images and stuff like that. But again, I think it's important, if you are a working photographer, to have this. Again, to sum up what you get the extended 1-year warranty, you get loaners for when your stuff's going to be in for repair. You have access to direct help and direct support, fast turnaround for repairs, and I think it's a couple cleanings, like cleaning checks that you get per year as well. So again, I think it's worthwhile at the $199. Hopefully they add some perks to the program for it, when it renews at $399. So I don't just look at my credit card statement and go like, hey, why did $400 just come out of my account? And so I hope they do add to this program. I know other programs. I know in our show notes you had mentioned that some are free, and that's true for like base level stuff, but all of them are around this price.
Okay.
About two to three for like a mid tier, and then some have the higher end, depending on how much gear, how much support that you need. So it is on a little bit on the higher side, but again, they're extending your manufacturer warranty, which I think is that's a pretty awesome thing for them to do. So
and it is intended for professionals, and as a professional expense, it seems like a no-brainer. If you depend on your cameras, sign up for it.
Absolutely. Another update that came out on Sony release day was the S1H ProRes RAW update has now been released. That one, it's been announced, I believe, since we put out the S1H. That that was in the future firmware update that you're going to have the ability to shoot RAW, but it is now available. And I've seen in the Lumix groups that I'm in, I'm seeing a lot of good things. I'm seeing a lot of highlight recovery. Shadow too. I mean, just a ton of information for this. So again, the S1H was made for a certain demographic of customers. And I would even argue that the S1H customer is different than the A7S3 customer. S1H is the only camera that is the interchangeable lens camera, that DSLR style, that is actually cleared for Netflix operation. So if you want to jump in and, shoot a Netflix documentary, this is probably the lowest barrier to entry as far as cost is concerned. So, the A7S3, although it, I've seen it used for shorts, I've seen it even shot, feature films. I know that they've been shot for that. I think they're totally different customer, totally different customer bases. And the fact that now they can shoot RAW along with the A7 being able to shoot RAW, I think that we're going to see this, resurgence of independent filmmakers that can now do a lot more, because now what used to cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 is now at an affordable price. And again, the fact that you can now get your short film onto Netflix, I think is just opening up more opportunities for filmmakers. So if you do have the S1H, you do now have this available, and all you have to do is download this firmware. It's available on the Panasonic site, and save it to your memory card, hit play. No, actually go through the menu, hit firmware update. And as long as it's on the root of the card, you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think the S1H is a fantastic video camera, and it does most of the stuff that the A7S3 does already. The only downside I've ever heard to it is the contrast detect autofocus isn't quite as snappy as the phase detect that you get in the Sonys. Other than that, people seem to love that camera who use it. And my opinion is yes, it shoots 6K, but the move to RAW in video will probably mean more to more people. The ability to get the extended dynamic range by taking the image straight off the sensor is probably more important for the quality of video than the 6K, the 8Ks that we're talking about. I think RAW is actually the next big thing.
Absolutely. Moving right along, our education and tutorials block. So photography in the Philippines. Tell us a little bit about this. What are we looking at here? What's this chicken doing?
Yeah, that's Roy the chicken. He's actually credited in this YouTube video. So Elia Locardi is a travel photographer who has done a series of tutorials over at F-Stoppers that I've bought a couple of, and they're expensive and they're amazing. He just takes these phenomenal pictures, landscapes and cityscapes, and walks you through all the details of how he does it. And that's the really technical side of things. what this series is, his moments in time, is his travels. So he is traveling around the world, and especially now when I'm stuck at home in this pandemic, I kind of want to go back and rewatch all of the back catalog. He shows you where he's going, how he takes his landscape pictures, how he takes his cityscape pictures, and he usually meets with local photographers in each of the cities to show them where to get the good pictures and to talk to them about photography. And in this picture here, this was taken from a Fuji promotional video / set of photos that were for the X200, XT200, their small camera that came out late last year. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know what was going on, but the photographer he came to visit said, "Oh, by the way, you're on the photo shoot now." Grabbed him, threw him in the makeup room, dressed him up like a ringmaster for a circus, and he became part of the Fuji promotional video. And he's a Fuji ambassador. They're one of the people sponsoring moments in time, but you can tell that he had no idea this was coming, and it's one of the funniest 2-3 minutes of video I've seen in a while, especially when Roy the Rooster in the back won't shut up while he's trying to stand there and pose and look all circus master imposing. And it's a great series. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you for sharing. I did not see this one yet, so I will have to tune in this weekend and check it out.
Yeah, this is the start of season 2, so you've got all of season 1 you can go back and check out.
And it's all on his YouTube channel.
Yep.
Awesome. I'll check that out. What's going on here?
This was the other one that I just couldn't stop giggling when I saw it. So behold the winners of the 2020 Potato Photographer of the Year contest. Now, I am a food photographer professionally, but this is ridiculous. That said, this is amazing that it just shows where sometimes restricting yourself, limiting your options, focusing on one idea opens you up to other creative ideas. So the winner is the one on the left, which is a potato eye that has gone rogue and looks like a wild head of hair that the photographer is styling with scissors and a comb, which is just awesome. And probably my favorite picture from the contest, the one that came in 4th, is on the bottom right, which is, it looks like a landscape of an island to me, because there's an eye sticking up that looks like a little tree, and it's backlit and it's very minimalist, but I just think of like a serene Japanese lake somewhere looking at that at this picture of a potato. And just the level of creativity that people can come up with is amazing. And that's why I included this one, just because I couldn't stop giggling. And I was impressed by the photography.
Absolutely. And now, is this something that happens every year, or was this because of COVID?
That's an excellent question. I didn't think to look into that. They didn't say anything like first annual 2020 potato photography or anything like that. So I'm not sure if it's been going on for a while or not.
And I did want to point out too, that Jim Summers, who is a Nikon shooter, pointed out that MPS is free. So there's no pay, no charge for the Nikon Professional Services Program. So thank you, Jim, for letting us know about that.
Thank you, Jim.
So if you are looking for more tutorials, more training, more inspiration, number one, we do Wednesday live streams. Those are more of like an educational, where this week we had Dan Bailey on, where he talked about his, adventure photography and composition, and just gave us some good tips on better photos. But we also have a full lineup of classes all the way through August, and then we're starting to push out the September ones as well. So you can find those over on our website, thepixelconnection.com/events. So moving on from there, if you did want to watch any of the previous live streams, we also have those available on our YouTube channel. If you go over to youtube.com/thepixelconnection, you'll be able to find all of the previous ones. And there for a while, I was doing it every single day. So, we have so much content that's up on YouTube. Some of the best creators in the industry, spent time with us and taught us everything from, 5 things businesses do wrong when they get started to shaping on-camera flash. So there's a good variety of things over on our channel. So let's jump over to our rumor roundup. We'll get our little rumor roundup music there. So starting off with the Canon overheating issues. So it looks like Canon is trying to solve this problem with what looks like a mount adapter.
Yeah, I stumbled across this on one of the Canon rumor sites, and what it says it is, I don't read Japanese, and this is a picture from a Japanese patent site, so I can't tell you, but they say it means, or it is a patent for a EF to RF adapter that will allow passive cooling, that it doesn't have a fan built in because, as they said, you don't want a fan blowing dust onto your sensor,
Right.
but it will allow airflow out of the camera to help cool down the body, which, and companies patent things all the time. Who knows if this will ever become a real product? But with all of the talk about Canon overheating, I thought this was a fun one to include.
Absolutely, and then I added the new Canon gloves, the CG-R5. I think they're also, the one thing that was really cool with the Canon system is the R5 and R6 accessories. They all work together, like the grips and stuff. So I think these gloves will work on the R6 as well. So good on Canon on that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And there was also, I forget, I think it was Tilta also came out with like a pop-on fan heatsink thing for the back of the camera. So
oh yeah, I did see
everybody's doing their part to try to cool these things down so you can shoot more 8Ks. So moving on, Sigma will announce a 85 millimeter 1.4 FE lens with new design on August 6th. So FE indicates the Sony full frame E mount. This one it's interesting. They came out a while ago. I remember it was at WPPI when they came out with all the art lenses for Sony. This was the first that I've seen of this lens. Even the rumors of this lens coming out, I'm always hopeful. I think that more lenses is, that's more creative, more juice for creatives, another tool for them to use. But the redesign is interesting. What do you think they're going to do with a redesign? I mean, what do they have to change?
Before that, I'm contractually obligated to say that is available for the FE, which is the Sony full frame, and the L mount Alliance. Allegedly, is what the rumor is going to announce next week. So when those Sigma art lenses came out, they're fantastic glass. They're the first third-party lenses that people have compared favorably to and said are sometimes better than native glass. I mean, I guess not first, but the whole line is really highly regarded. But it was originally designed for the Canon EF system, and the Sony E-mount versions were effectively just the Canon EF lens with their Sigma EF to E adapter bolted onto the back. They integrated it into the body. So because of the DSLR mirror box, the lens is a lot longer than most mirrorless lenses. And this looks like kind of like their 40 millimeter they released back with the Sigma FP. This looks like a lens that was designed from the ground up for mirrorless, where they take advantage of the narrow flange distance between the lens mount and the sensor, and they can make a much more compact lens as a result of it. And this picture doesn't show it, but there was another picture I saw where they had all of the 85 millimeter lenses in the Sony lineup, and this is noticeably smaller than any of them.
There was actually a photo of this thing out there.
Yep. And I think it's this photo basically rotated so that they can put it next to the other ones. But you could see it in the photo that this came from. It looked like the whole Sigma art lineup kind of on a single sheet. And this one, I think somebody slipped and put it onto, the sheet got out early. And you can see it is noticeably smaller than the current 35 f1.4 art. So I think this will be another great Sigma lens for full frame mirrorless systems.
Do you think it's interesting that it's only available for FE and L and not the Z mount or the RF mount?
I don't believe there are any Z or RF mount third-party lenses yet. I don't think Sigma has had time to reverse engineer them, and I don't think that Nikon or Canon have released them to third parties yet.
And I think Rokinon is the only one that I've seen that has like Laowa does, but that's manual.
Right.
So there are like Laowa and Rokinon there. I think they're the only ones that do have them. But as far as like a first party, third party. Let's call it that. You know, where it's the Tamron or Sigmas of the world. We're not seeing any Z mount. We're not seeing any RF mount. So I wonder how long before we're going to start seeing those hit the shelves, because I think that's one thing that with these new, you know, we saw the new announcement from Nikon last week with the Z. We see, you know, this week with the, you know, R5, R6 that, you know, photographers want these cameras. They're going to want lenses to attach to them. They're not necessarily going to, or, you know, only being limited to on Nikon and even Canon. They've done a great job with, you know, especially Canon with the lens options, but there's still not enough. So I'm hoping that Sigma, you know, picks up the pace a little bit to, you know, get more of the RF and the Z mount lenses out there.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the strengths of Sony's E-mount systems and their cameras is they did open up the mount so that Sigma and Tamron and anybody who wanted to, it feels like, could build lenses for it. And I think that's been a big advantage for Sony. And I think Canon and Nikon are being penny wise and pound foolish. They're saying, well, we want all the money from the lenses, but it's holding their entire system back. And I think Sony made the right choice in this case to open it up.
Absolutely. So I wanted to let you guys know this. You are the first to know on the Friday live stream, the Friday Focus. So we've been doing free Fujifilm rentals for the month of July. We're actually extending this through August. So I reached out to my friends at Fuji and got this extended for us. So we have to have them back like that last week of August. We have to send some stuff back to Fuji. So if you head over to rentals.thepixelconnection.com, you will see a full lineup of things that you can rent, you can borrow for, you know, we're limiting it to, you know, a 3-day or a weekend rental, but take some of this Fuji stuff for a test drive. It's definitely worthwhile. If you've been thinking about a lens or making the switch to Fuji, or, you know, like it was for me, like I augment what I shoot with Fuji. So it's been great for me to try different lenses and stuff as well. So that's available. Also, you can get some extra savings if you do decide to purchase any Fuji gear by booking some tech time, which, you know, Mike's talked about before that he took advantage of. So basically you get your questions answered, which is awesome. That's a free service from Fuji where you sit down with one of the tech reps, they answer your questions, but then there is some bonus savings tied to that as well. So if you've been thinking about Fuji, there is no better time, especially with the XT3s. I think they're like $500 off right now. I mean, just amazing camera, great price. So definitely want to take advantage of that. And then finally, we do have the Ohio Fujifam, the Fujifam user group. So if you just do a Google search for Ohio Fujifam, or I'm sorry, a Facebook search for Ohio Fujifam, you'll find that. But we also have the Midwest Lumix user group, the MLUG, if you will, and then the Ohio Olympus users. So there are, for your mirrorless folks out there, and we're working on putting together some other ones as well, but these are the ones that have been running now for a little while. So if you want to continue the conversation and you love Lumix, Olympus, or Fuji, definitely jump into those groups and share just with other users that are, like yourself. So would love to see you over there. So if you do want to get a copy of these slides, you can head over to thepixelconnection.com and you'll see a little thing where it says newsletter sign up. We send out this recording. We send out all these articles with a little snippet and links to everything. So you can find those over at thepixelconnection.com. I want to thank my co-host, Mike Vrobel, for joining us today. Mike, where can people find you?
My food blog is at dadcooksdinner.com, where you can see my food photography and my recipes. And I'm on most of the socials at dadcooksdinner.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, everybody that's out there, for watching the live stream. After today, this will be available in podcast format. So if you search in the iTunes store, the Google store, Spotify, it's going to be absolutely everywhere as a free download. So if you can't join us every Friday, you can get it in your podcatcher of choice. So I'm going to go work on this. I hope everybody else can focus on the weekend. Everybody have a good one. We'll talk soon.
Bye, everybody.